Ladies, I'm Laura Vitale, and today, before summer comes to an end, I want to share with you a recipe for my mini blueberry pies. I love these, they're perfect for get-togethers, and while the blueberries are still beautiful, sweet, and delightful, I had to share this recipe with you. Now, last year I shared a classic blueberry pie recipe with you, and this year we're doing mini versions. It's just so delightful. The ingredients you'll need for the crust are very few and basics, and I'll walk you through them. You'll start off with some all-purpose flour, some salt, some granulated sugar, unsalted butter, and vegetable shortening that are very, very cold. I've got a couple of egg yolks, actually 3 egg yolks. I've got lemon, some pan di angeli, this is Italian baking powder, but you can use regular baking powder, and vanillina, which is Italian powder vanilla. And you'll also need some ice water. I have some water just in the freezer in a little measuring cup to make sure it's really nice and cold. Okay, couldn't be easier. In my bowl, I've got my dry ingredients, and I want to get these all mixed up really quickly because this crust is really going to come together in no time. To my flour, sugar, and salt, I want to add a half of an envelope of my pan di angeli. Now this is my nonna's crust. This is the crust I make very often because it's just she makes it, it's incredible, and it's good for just about anything. And she always uses pan di angeli because a little bit of that baking powder really makes your crust lovely and soft, but still crumbly and flaky from using cold fat. So really the combination of the two is amazing. And some vanillina. This is just powder Italian vanilla. If you don't have it, no big deal. Just use a little bit of vanilla extract. Just gonna get all that in. And now to this, I'm also going to add the zest of half of a lemon. I need the remaining zest and juice for our blueberries, so I'm just going to use half now and reserve the other half for later. Just going to briefly mix that together. I'm going to pop everything in my standing mixer that I have fitted with a paddle attachment. You can also make this in your food processor, but my food processor is a little bit small and it doesn't mix everything together the way I like it to when I'm adding so much stuff in it. And then I'm going to add in my cold fats. Now I cut my butter and vegetable shortening in little pieces and popped it in the freezer for about a half hour so I can really ensure myself that the fats are nice and cold. And also, from reading your comments every time I use vegetable shortening, I know a lot of you can't find it on your side of the world. So if you can't find vegetable shortening, by all means just use all butter. It'll be just fine. So I'm going to mix this until the fats are incorporated in the flour mixture and they've all crumbled and they're like the size of peas throughout the flour. And then we'll add in our remaining ingredients. This is looking good enough. I'm going to add my egg yolks. And then as everything is mixing and the egg yolks are getting incorporated, I'm going to start adding a little bit of my iced water at a time, about a tablespoon of water at a time. And it's really hard to tell how much you need. You just have to keep an eye on it because once everything kind of comes together, then you've added enough water. But don't add it all at once because you might only need a couple tablespoons or you might need 4 or 5. It totally depends. So just do it a little bit at a time and keep your eye on it, and I promise you it'll come together really, really quickly. And once you sort of know what you're looking for, making pie crust for you will be a breeze. And it's one of the most rewarding things that you can make in the kitchen because nothing beats flaky, buttery, delightful pie crust. That looks gorgeous. I'm going to stop. I'm not going to add any more because even though it sort of looks crumbly still, you can tell that it's holding together really, really well. And I also want to stop this from mixing because I don't want my dough to get warm. I don't want the butter to start melting because that will defeat all the work we did because I want to keep that butter nice and cold so that when you roll it out, it sort of runs through your dough and it's just once it cooks and bakes it just gets flaky and delightful and gorgeous. And now all I want to do is divide my dough in half. I want 2 pieces of this. It's nice and sticky, but you can see the pieces of butter running through it and that is crucial. And I'm going to wrap each piece in some plastic wrap and pop it into the fridge for about an hour to rest, and then we're going to get going on making our filling. Now to make the blueberry filling, I've got some fresh blueberries here. I also have some vanilla sugar. If you don't have vanilla sugar, which by the way, all it is granulated sugar, and then every time I use a vanilla pod, I just take the seeds out and then take the pod and stick it into a can of sugar, and then I always have vanilla sugar on hand. But if you don't have any, you can just add a small touch of vanilla extract to this or completely leave it out. So I've also got some cornstarch. I need the juice and zest of this lemon. I need about the remaining half of my lemon. Now I'm only going to use half lemon zest and about 2.5 teaspoons of lemon juice. So that should be about the juice of this whole lemon, because this lemon is not exactly feeling like it's super juicy. Great. I have to squeeze it over my finger so I can catch all the pips, seeds, whatever you call them. Yeah, so you see it's not super juicy. If it was really juicy, then I would only use half of the lemon juice, but I have to really squeeze to get any juice out of this baby. And I did roll it, but this looks good. So now I'm just going to take a spoon. I'm going to mix everything together because I want to make sure that that cornstarch is coating every blueberry. Now, when blueberries are in season, are lovely and not soft, but they're not as hard as they are when they're not in season. So you must add the cornstarch because they are going to release a lot of juice, and you don't want your pies to be runny and the crust to be soggy. The cornstarch is going to thicken those juices and make everything just absolutely gorgeous. Now I'm going to set this aside, get my pie crust out, and start rolling. Now I took one of the pie crusts out of the fridge. I want to work one at a time because I don't want to keep both of them out here because of all the lighting that we have in the kitchen. It gets pretty hot and I don't want my pie crust to be hot. I want it to stay nice and cold so the fats stay nice and cold. And now I'm just going to roll this out on a floured surface. Now I have a muffin tin that I have sprayed with some nonstick spray. By the way, look at the butter. See that? That's beautiful. I've got a non-stick muffin tin that I've sprayed with some non-stick spray just to make sure everything comes out really easy. And now I'm going to roll this baby out, and you want to make sure you keep rotating and you keep working and you move fast, because if the pie crust starts to get warm, the butter starts to melt and then the pie crust will start to fall apart. So working quickly is the most important thing when it comes to pie crust, and you want to just keep moving it so it doesn't stick in any particular place. And I'm going to roll this out until it's about a 1/4 inch thick. Now I have a 3.5 inch biscuit cutter, a 2.5 inch biscuit cutter, and then I also have a little star shaped cutter, but this is totally optional. And what I'm going to do, for every one that I cut out that's the bottom, I'm also going to cut out a top. So keep that in mind, and then I'll show you what to do with the star. So just keep cutting and work fast, because again, you don't want your pie crust to get warm, because if it gets warm, then you could run into some issues. Just make sure you remember that you need both a top and a bottom for your little pies. And then this is how easy it is. You take each one, you pop it into your little muffin cup here. You add a small spoonful of your blueberry mixture. And then this is what I do with the star cutout. I just make a little cut in the center. And this is totally optional, but I feel like, why not? Then I just take my egg wash, which is just an egg that I've beaten with a little bit of milk or cream or whatever your heart desires, or water. And then I just place this right on top and then just seal the edges like so. And now I'm going to continue to do these. I'm going to continue to work quickly, and then that way we can pop them in the oven really quick. Now I'm actually going to do just these for now because it's getting really hot in here and I don't want my dough to get really warm. I'm going to brush the tops with more egg wash because this is going to help them get beautifully golden brown and really develop beautiful color and texture. I'm just taking a little bit of that and popping that on top. Now, if you wanted to, you can make the whole dough and filling like I am, and then just cover the filling, rewrap the dough, and then finish it maybe tomorrow. If you want to make different filling tomorrow, you can certainly do that. It's really great to just like re-roll everything together tomorrow or whenever you feel like it and have some fresh little mini pies on hand. Now I'm going to pop these into my oven that's been preheated to 375, and they'll be in there for about 20 to 25 minutes or until they're beautiful golden brown. I'll show you what they look like when they're there. My pies were in the oven for around 20 minutes and they look gorgeous. I have let them cool because that filling was bubbling after I took them out, but I'm just going to run a little spatula around. Look how beautiful. I mean, really. I just love the way the juices from the filling sort of come right out, and it's just, to me, the most beautiful thing. Heaven in my mouth. Wow, this is what I picture heaven to taste like. Look at me fighting with this blueberry. You need these in your life. So good. So easy. I just think you'll love them. LauraInTheKitchen.com will have the recipe waiting for you. I hope you enjoy spending time with me, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.